everyone. Welcome back to this amazing event. I am so excited to have the incredible Dr. Evan Hirsch here with us today. And this is the man you want to know if you're feeling fatigue at all in your life, or you know somebody who has experienced fatigue or is experiencing fatigue. He's an incredible expert, and I'm so honored to have him here with us. So, hi, Evan. How are you?
Harry, thanks so much for having me on. I am well. How are you?
So good. It's really exciting to have you here. So I would love to just start with having the world meet you for those who haven't met you yet. Like, can you just give us a little bit of information about who you are and what you're passionate about?
Yeah, so I'm the Energy MD. I'm on a mission to help a million leaders, executives, and everyday people take their energy to the next level so they can have more fun and success in every aspect of their lives. And the reason why I'm on this mission is because I had fatigue, I had burnout, I had an overhead of $135,000 a month that destroyed me pretty much.
Oh,
But then I also had then the fatigue and the brain fog and the body pain on top of that. And I had to keep hiring people in order to do my job. And it was when I was hiding underneath my desk, taking my daily nap that I did every single day for about 5 years, where I was like, I'm so done with this. It's
yeah.
time for me to actually start treating myself. I was already practicing functional medicine, natural medicine, integrative medicine, all that good stuff. And I was like, I got to start practicing on myself. I got to start taking care of myself. So I did. I transitioned to a virtual practice. I healed my fatigue. I wrote a book about it. And at this point, I've helped thousands of people do so and I'm on a mission to help a million more. So that's my story.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I mean, it's super powerful. And here you are, and having such a huge ripple effect and influence on the world. So one of the main reasons I really wanted you here was to talk about, like, I think many people don't understand what is fatigue. And I want to highlight that early on so people can identify, do I have fatigue? Is this what's been going on? Or is it just because the world has been really crummy the past couple of years? Like, what is that? So would you tell
So
us a little more?
so fatigue is tiredness that's not relieved by rest. And so a
Mm,
lot of people think that they can't be as energetic as they were when they were 18 or 15, and that's just not true. I just had a 60-year-old yesterday who told me that he feels better now than he did when he was 30. Right.
wow.
So it really has nothing to do with that. It has to do with and we'll get into this, the amount of toxicities that you've been exposed to, the amount of things that you're deficient in your body. You put those two things together and you end up just being tired, and it's not relieved by rest. And by rest, I'm saying like 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. I mean, it's one thing if you like tie one on the weekend, or if you're like studying for your finals exams. Like, what did we do after that? We slept for weeks, right? But then you got back to baseline. So if you're getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night and you are tired during the day, maybe you're crashing during the day, maybe you just have low energy throughout the day, or maybe you're just not sleeping well, and that consequently is then causing you to be tired, there's a problem. And your body is yelling at you, and you just want to make sure that you address it before your body starts hitting you over the head and you really just can't get out of bed anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes total sense. So, so I'm looking for when I feel tired, even after rest.
Exactly. Yep. So it's not like, you miss a night of sleep because you were out at the beach or partying or whatever, and you're tired the next day. It's when you're going to bed before 10 o'clock every night, hopefully, and you're getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And you're like, why am I still tired? Oftentimes people will they'll be like, all right, I gave up caffeine, or sometimes they're surviving on caffeine. And they're like, okay, I got
Yeah.
to get rid of this. Gave up caffeine, started drinking more water, tried to exercise more, got rid of gluten, dairy, sugar, and I'm still tired, right? All those
Yeah.
things can help. But as we'll go into, there's like 33 different causes of fatigue, and everybody who's tired has 20 plus causes. And I'll use fatigue and
Holy
tired
cow.
interchangeably because the only difference between being tired, chronically tired, and having like chronic fatigue syndrome has to do with the number of those causes that somebody has and the severity of each of those causes. But the causes are all the same.
Wow. And have you seen an uptick in people feeling fatigued over COVID?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so much of this has to do with their mental health. right?
That makes
People
sense.
just don't have good mental health practices. I was actually coaching my operations manager today in our practice, because she was telling me what a hard time she was having with the team yesterday. But so much of that has to do with how we see the world. you know what are we grateful for? Do we have a gratitude practice, right? What are we
Mm,
doing with our limiting beliefs? Are we paying attention to them, or are we putting them in the closet, right?
yeah.
Do we have a visioning practice? What do we want our ideal day to look like? So we can go into that more, but that's a big part of this. Are you watching TV? Are you paying attention to the news? Are you looking at Facebook? So many of these things put us into states that are not supportive. You get into you feel bad for the Ukraine, or you feel bad about the number of people who have died, which, yes, you should feel bad, but that's not where your focus should be. You can
Mm,
still, hey, I love these people, I wish them the best. You don't even have to watch the news in order to be able to do that. Somebody will tell
mm,
you if there's something, catastrophic that's happening.
yeah.
So that's a big part of what we do in our program. People who have negative emotional patterns, so ACEs, so adverse childhood events or adverse life events, anything that's come up in your life that has changed the way that you look at, that has increased stress, is going to end up being a cause that is going to contribute to being more tired. So these are just some of the things that I've noticed that has increased, in addition to the environmental toxicities that we see. So one of the big things we see is mold
Oh,
toxicity. About half of all buildings in first world countries have water damage, and most of those have mold. And guess what gets worse when you go inside? Your mold symptoms, right? If you're just inside
yeah.
all the time, right? So
Yeah.
that's another thing that we've seen an uptick in because of everybody being at home.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. And I have quite a few people tuning in from Bali. Bali is a tropical climate. And we have so much mold. I mean, that like as we're starting to talk about, oh, we want to find a new house to live in. That's a big concern we have, is finding a place that doesn't have mold, which is very hard to find here. So this is really
I bet.
interesting to look at, like, how is that having an impact and what can we do? So if okay, so it sounded like there are many, many, many different things that can contribute to fatigue. How can I, how do I figure out if this is really me or what's going on?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think just thinking about, could your energy be better? That's like the first question to ask yourself. And if the answer is yes, then it's time to do something. And it doesn't mean that you have to come see me or read my book. It might mean drink more water, get rid of gluten, dairy, and sugar, right? It might mean actually going to bed before 10,
Hmm.
not watching the news, avoiding screens an hour before bed. So you could just do some simple lifestyle habits like that, and that would get rid of
Start to
it.
see
But
a
you have
shift.
to, yeah, but you have to have that awareness initially. Like, how do I feel when I wake up in the morning? Am I happy? Is my energy good? Am I bounding out of bed? Like, if you're not having those experiences, then you want to reach out. You want to ask for help. I know you guys do a lot of that work as well, from the relationship perspective, and your husband's doing the happiness stuff, so there's a lot of help out there that people just have to pay attention, realize that you're not living your best life, because even if you believe in reincarnation, this is like the one life you got in this form,
Yeah.
and you really might want to make the best of it, right? so
Yeah.
so let's pay attention to what's going on in our bodies, and then let's make some changes, and let's ask for help when we get stuck.
Oh, I love that so much. What have you been doing during COVID? Like what have you personally been doing to get through COVID, but now also that things are beginning to shift? What is shifting in your life?
So I think I'm going to talk about my day. So when I wake up in the morning, the first thing that I do is I do my daily mindset practice. So the first step of this is gratitudes. So 3
Mhm.
gratitudes is what the research shows is all you got to do. It could be the same gratitudes every single day, that will make you start to look more for gratitudes during your day, and starts this process of neuroplasticity, of changing how the brain functions so that you can actually be happier. Because where gratitude lives, fear cannot live, and other negative emotions, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first thing that I do, is gratitudes. The second thing is I envision my ideal day. So I go through, much like I'm talking about right now, I go through, what does my ideal day look like? This could be 5 years in the future, it could be next year, it could be 10 years. years, when I have achieved everything that I want to achieve, at least what I understand it to be
Mm.
now, what's that relationship look like? Who am I waking up next to? Where am I waking up? Am I in Bali? Am I in Manhattan? Who do I see throughout my day? What does my work look like? What does my team look like? Um, what does that flow to my day? What does exercise look like? What is my relationships with my family members? So it's going through my day and envisioning exactly what it looks like, because the brain doesn't know the difference between fantasy and reality. So there's been a number of studies about this, and so it just makes sense to go ahead and to envision what your ideal life would be, so that the universe can conspire and achieve it. So that's the second step. Third
And
step
sorry,
is,
before you get to the
go
third step,
ahead.
about how long does that take you
Um, it's less than 5 minutes.
for the whole practice or for the envisioning part?
Oh, for the whole practice.
Amazing. Okay, keep going. Number 3.
Yeah, because oftentimes what you're doing is you're tapping into a feeling, right? Feelings
Yeah.
are more important than thoughts. And
Yes.
there's, this whole translation, right, between thoughts and the energy of thoughts being emotions and feelings, right? So if you can
Mm-hmm.
tap into that feeling, it feels really good, that's really more important, because that's going to jive, that energy is going to jive with your true nature and resonance of kind of where you want to be. So that's
Totally.
step 2.
Yeah.
Step 3 is looking at any sort of limiting beliefs, limiting thoughts that you have, and flipping them into empowering beliefs. So
Mm.
I grew up with scarcity. And so a big practice for me is the opposite of that, which is abundance.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is always working out for me is a favorite phrase. So whatever's coming up for me in the moment, I will, that's causing me maybe a little bit of discomfort or distress. I'll think about, okay, well, what's the thought that is causing that sort of sensation? And then I'm like, okay, what's the opposite of that? And let me just hang out with that thought for a while. So that's step
Mm.
3. And then step 4 is looking at whatever disempowering question I might be asking myself, and ask myself instead an empowering question. And so oftentimes people are asking themselves, why is this happening to me? Why do bad things happen? Why, whatever. And what's a better question is, how can I love myself more each day? Because the
Mm.
brain is a goal achieving machine. Any sort of information that you ask it, it is going to spit out the answer that is either going to give you the answer you want, or the one that you don't want, even if you didn't realize that it wasn't, even if you didn't realize that it was one that you didn't want, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm asking myself a bad question, guess what? I'm going to get a bad answer. So
Yeah.
instead, I'm going to ask myself, how can I love myself even more today? Like, how good is that? I'm like, oh my gosh, I can sing more today, right? Or I can give myself a hug, or I can go like this, or I can hug my family, or I can spend more time in gratitude, or whatever it is, right?
I love it.
And with our clients, our patients, we're talking about, what can I do today to improve my health even more? And we love to throw in even more, because that is an NLP technique, neuro linguistic programming, right? That you've already been doing it. You're kind of fooling your brain that you've already been doing it, right? So
Yes.
that's the 4-step process that I go through in the morning. And then I get out of bed and I drink 20 ounces of water, and I get in the sauna, and then I do some high intensity interval training for 4 minutes, 8 rounds, where I'm doing burpees and I'm doing yoga and I'm doing breath work and a number of other things. And then I have breakfast that's largely keto, and then I kind of like go about my day. So that's really important to me. That's really helped during this pandemic. And then I start my day off by singing, and I try to take breaks by singing. I just love to sing, and there's just nothing like just kind of letting yourself go and letting your voice go and kind of like belting things out. So do that
Yeah.
in the shower. I do that at my desk. I've
Do you
actually
have a recording coming out soon? An album?
yes, yes. If people look for me on my Facebook page or in my Facebook group, I've posted. I just actually very proud of this. I just won second place in a regional singing competition for my age
What?
group, so that's really fun.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. So I sing musicals and stuff like that. So that's kind of where my fun is at, and I tried to put that throughout the day. And I've also learned that if there's something that I enjoy and I want to make sure that I get it done, I got to schedule it, right? So I put it on
Mhm.
my calendar, but I also have a coach. I've got like 5 different coaches for different things. I've got a
Yeah.
vocal coach. I've got 2 vocal coaches right now, actually. So I do that to make sure that I'm continuing to grow in every aspect of my life, right? I want to have a coach in every aspect of my life, my health, my relationships,
Yeah.
emotional, physical, all this sort of stuff, so that I can be the best that I can be, right? And so
Mm.
so that's what I'm doing. And then, and I don't look at the news. When I look at Facebook, it's, I don't get into anything political. I'm not looking at most people's stories. I'm generally using it to put out love and put out good content. So I'm not really receiving, so that I don't get into comparison. Um, and then I have my day, and then spend time with my family. And then before I go to bed, I listen to sports commentary, because it's really relaxing for me. I saw a therapist a number of years ago who I told her I was depressed. I was going through residency. And she said, "Well, what did you do that was fun when you were younger?" And I
Mm.
said, "I played sports and I did music." And she goes, "Well, go ahead and do those things." And so I'll play
Yes.
basketball when the weather's right here in the Pacific Northwest. I'll sing, I play other kinds of musical instruments, and then I'll listen to sports commentary, which gets me out of my intellectual brain, and then allows me to relax and allows me to kind of like wind down. And then I go to bed before 10 o'clock. I read a little bit. Right now, and I always read pleasure reading before bed. I can't read anything that's medical related or business related. And right now, I'm actually reading some of the Percy Jackson books, which are like teen um, fantasy books, because my daughter has read all of them. And so it allows me to connect with her. She's 13 and not really into dad. And so after I read, I read on my Kindle. And so I
Uh-huh.
highlight a phrase, which I think is funny or whatever, and then I text it to her and little emoji or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
And so it allows us to kind of stay connected during what can be a little bit of a bumpy time in our relationship.
Oh my gosh, that's so creative. I love it. I love it. Both my children, but especially my eldest, just love to read. And I'm like, oh, I could totally see how we could stay connected through reading now. I never
Mhm.
thought of that. I love it. So as a parent, I'm curious, is there anything that you have, I'm guessing your kids haven't had troubles with fatigue, but there are things you're probably doing to help set them up for success. And I'm guessing it's about the same things. Are you teaching them morning practices? Is there stuff do they also follow a kind of a more a keto diet?
Yes and yes. The challenge is there's a lot of resistance at this age, but my wife Stacy is a mindfulness coach, trauma-based meditator, and so we're modeling a lot of this
Mm-hmm.
behavior. And when there is upset, we're modeling a lot of that, and repair and recover. It's less about the upset and it's more about the recovery. So we apologize a lot. But so yeah, so that's, and I would love to do some mindset work with her.
Yeah.
And she has some coaches as well. She wants to be an actor, and so she has a voice coach, a singing coach, and then she also has an
Amazing.
acting coach. And so her acting coach does do some mindset stuff with her, does want me to do some, but my daughter is a bit resistant right now. So we do the best that we can. But yeah, the
Yeah.
diet is pretty much, if it's not in the house, it's not going to be eaten. And so we do
Right.
have good control over that. And then also, we have some of these apps to control the amount of content that she's consuming and make sure we're
Mm-hmm.
having conversations about any of that stuff that she wants.
Amazing. So smart. So smart.
We're
It's a big
trying.
deal, especially for this next generation. It's media, social media, and
Right.
things. So much.
Yeah. There's no social media. That's for sure. None of
Yeah.
that right now. Yeah.
Yeah. That's huge. I don't think people quite understand the impact that social media has on us and on our well-being and how we show up every day. It's just an easy thing to turn on first thing in the morning and read last thing at night. And it just really gets in our system. And
Hmm.
we've seen the impact. One of the things two things that really struck me that I wanted to call out. One, I love that you really talk about the importance of when you're visualizing to call in the emotions, right? Like, what do you want to be feeling? Like, and I just want to also invite people to allow yourself to feel it, not just think about the emotion. A lot of us are very cognitive. I mean, I come from the tech industry, and most people are very like, we're in our heads. Like, okay, and they can think about how they want to feel. They're like, I want to feel happy. I'm like, you know, let yourself feel happy. What would it be like to really embody that? Like, you have the power. So try it. Try exercising that muscle of calling in the feelings you want to feel and not just the thoughts you want to have too. So that struck me. And then I was thinking about something you said about reversing the question. Like, what is the disempowering question? How do you turn it empowering? And I just see that when I'm working with clients, especially in relation, if they're in relationship, then a lot of times they're looking for that story, right? It's like, my spouse is such a, insert whatever adjective you might hear that is not very empowering, right? And then you're constantly searching for that evidence of that. How can you prove that he or she is this thing, right? And then all day long we're on this hunt to really justify that story. But when we change it and we start looking for evidence of the opposite case, my spouse is so loving, my spouse is so caring, my spouse is so powerful, whatever it might be, right? Then we start finding totally new evidence we didn't see before. We miss the small things. And I can see how that shows up in the rest of life. As you brought that up, I'm like, oh my gosh, not just in a relationship, but in life. Where are we holding ourselves back? Where are we seeking the evidence for the case that is not going to get us where we want to go and is holding us back and keeping us stuck? So I just love that. I really am like, oh, so good. So, thank you.
I couldn't agree more. You know, where focus goes, energy flows, and it's imperative that we are real guardians of what goes in here, right? Good thoughts only. Thank you very much, right? And so we have to do that, and then we have to put those thoughts out in the world, and whatever we want, right, and whatever we put out there is going to come back to us. I truly believe that.
I love it. Dr. Evan, you are incredible. I'm so excited to have you here. Is there anything, I mean, I'm like, how can I find more of you? And for me and everybody who is listening and tuning in, like, okay, so fatigue, not even maybe, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I want to learn more. And I've gone through at least phases in my life where I definitely was fatigued. And I am like, oh, had I had these resources and known that there are all these different factors and that I could have gotten support on it, like, I didn't know I could have gotten support on this. Like, this is amazing. So if I want to know more, learn more about you and the work you're doing in the world, how do I do that?
So we're pretty much on every social platform, but we have a Facebook group that's got about 3,000 people in it, where I'm doing trainings, and there's a whole bunch of videos where you can learn a lot. I've got that book that's on Amazon. So there's a lot of information that I have out there. So check us out. We're also at fixyourfatigue.com. And we're here to serve. So so if you are struggling with your energy and you really want to take it to the next level so you can be happier and more successful in every aspect of your lives, check us out.
I love it. I love it. I think you had a free gift for anybody who's tuning in. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. So my book has been a bestseller on Amazon, and this is the PDF, and this is version 2. So this is the latest and greatest. Enjoy.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I'll make sure that gets shared out with everybody. So
thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. It was such a pleasure to meet you virtually and have you join us on this amazing online event. And I look forward to connecting more in the future.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye.